Now, I've picked out a couple of interesting points, which I think you might be interested in. One of them is, well, where's this loving God then? And I've dealt with that a little bit in one of the articles I wrote recently, but let me just deal with it here. Read in verse 35 in John 11. It's a really easy one. It's one of the easiest verses in the Bible to read, okay? It's not got one of these long names or anything like that. Jesus wept. Think about it for a moment, okay? He's all-powerful, all-knowing, capable of creating the world with snap of his fingers, the blink of an eye, and a single word. You know, capable of changing circumstances, saying to a young man, arise, and out he comes. Here's him, walking, talking around. Mary and Martha don't have to go to prayer. They can send somebody to go and get Jesus. That's quite nice. And here is him. And he said, where have you laid him? And they are taking him to the tomb. And he has already said he is going to raise him from the dead. He has already got the plan. He has already got the circumstances laid out. He's already planned it ahead, despite the faith of the individuals in the process. He's already planned it. And yet, this I find utterly mind-blowing, both from a philosophical angle and also from a human angle, because it doesn't seem to make sense. And it's this, that all-powerful, capable of doing everything, knows the plans, knows what's going to happen, really, it's kind of confident doctor that's going to save the day, yeah? Superman, right? Who should be riding in, just saying, it's all right, I've got it. Lazarus, come out. Weeps. It doesn't say he cried a bit. You know, it doesn't say he kind of, shed a tear. Utterly broken up and just gutted. The guy is utterly broken. You know, in Luke 7, it said that he is deeply moved. He is utterly destroyed too. He is broken-hearted. He is crying his face off. He is weeping. It's one of the most expressive verses in the Bible. It's just 2 words. He wept. He knows what's going to happen. He knows it's going to be okay, but he still weeps. He's not distant from the emotional turbulence and turmoil that's going on in life situations. And so when sometimes we're looking for a God that saves us, maybe we'll find that later. Maybe right now we need to find the God that weeps. Yeah? It's weird. We have this picture sometimes of Christianity where we put enough prayer in and we get our answer out. You know, a bit like the vending machine where if you've got the money and you put your money in the slot and you press for your Coca-Cola, it comes, I've got my prayer requests, and life's sorted. And it doesn't work like that. See, we don't have a God that sits upstairs on his bottom and looks down and thinks, who will I bless this week? Oh, I think they've had a hard enough time. Yeah, there you go, sorted. We don't have that. We have a God that comes and on the way to solving the problem, weeps. Utterly moved, utterly devastated. And it's interesting to see what the reaction is of the people around, which is the same reaction as probably some of us are having in this room. They said to him, Lord, come see, and Jesus wept. So the Jews were saying, see how he loved him? But some of them said, could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind have kept this man from dying? Shouldn't you have done what I asked, rather than just cry about it? And there is something interesting about this whole thing. One of the most frustrating things in medicine is the knowledge that no matter what you do, they're still going to come back with another problem. There is a difference, I believe there's a difference between revival and resurrection. Okay? Revival is bringing back to life something that was once dead. Resurrection is a spiritual thing that goes on at the point of salvation and a point of fulfillment when you die and you're resurrected into heaven, which is why when Jesus said he will be raised again, Mary turned around, Martha turned around and said, I know he will be at the time of resurrection. Okay? But Jesus was talking about a revival of a circumstance rather than a resurrection. We will all be raised in resurrection, but we won't all be revived. Okay? And for revival to occur, we are utterly dependent on the Spirit of God. In the same way, for resurrection to occur, we are utterly dependent on the Spirit of God and what Christ has done. So, we see Christ suffering. Now, I could go through the story of Christ's death, how he chose to be obedient to death. It's interesting. How do you deal with the process of dying? I've watched many people deal with the process of dying over the years, and I say some of them do it with some incredible dignity, and some of them don't. But it's interesting when you look at Christ and the way he dealt with it, was he kind of received it in a way which was, I'm going to use this as a proactive tool for the glory of God and to save others. I will use it. And so he suffered. He suffered unjustly. He was fraudulently tried. He was betrayed by his friends, and he was abandoned by all of his friends except for his mother. He was denied, and yet he cared for the others around him in the process of being destroyed and suffering. He forgave all those around him that misunderstood him or tried to heap more blame on him or tried to unjustly accuse him of something or struck him or put him down. And he even found time to look after his own mother in the midst of it. It's a lesson for us all sometimes in ministry. You see, some of you may feel you've got this grand call of God on your life, but do not neglect your mother. Do not neglect your wife. Do not neglect your children. It is irresponsible for me as a pastor to sacrifice everything I have for you in the same way that Christ gave himself up for us, and yet not find time to look after my own mum. Because Jesus didn't. He looked after his mum while he was on the cross. He had responsibilities. So those of you that are in ministry or in some sort of ministry who have these visions of what you want to do for God and everything else, make sure that you still look after your wife, you still look after your children, you still look after everything else. Okay, so in the process of this suffering that Jesus is going through, he has a vision of giving life. And if we look at John 11 then, we go back through, this is the way he did it with Lazarus. See, the first thing he did is he said, "Where is he laid? Lead me to him." Right? The second thing he did was he then said, "Believe me, he will raise again." The third thing he did was said, "Remove the stone." And then Lazarus is raised by the working of his Spirit, and there's nothing you did in the process of that. And then the fourth thing he said, "Unbind him and let him go." So as Christians, this is how we are involved in the process of raising the dead. Okay? We are involved by taking him to the dead people. We are involved by taking Christ to the situation and the circumstances, not leaving him behind. We go to them. We go to the place, we go to the home, we go to the family, we go to the person, we take him there. We take him there. We believe him when he says, "I can heal, I can redeem, I can restore, I can bring hope, I can bring life, I can bring love to this situation." We remove the obstacles by which Jesus needs to speak to these people, so we go through the process of lifting things out of the way and trying to unbarrier things and go through this process of trying to help. And then we utterly depend on the Spirit of God to do what he can do. And we trust him. No matter what happens, we trust him. If he doesn't raise them, it's his plan. If he does raise them, it's his plan. We just trust him. We do everything we can to remove the obstacles, and we let the Spirit of God do what the Spirit of God does by the faith that we've put in him, by trusting him. And then when he does work the miracles, which are just superb, then we unbind them and we loose them. So we let them go, so that they can then go and be a blessing to others, which is everything to do with the development of people around you. So you inspire people by unbinding them from the restrictions that they have and saying, this you need to let go of, this you need to let go of, this is just wrapping you up, and this needs to be taken away from you. Now go on your merry way and go and enjoy life and go and preach the same gospel. And it's that process that goes on, and this is a way that we bring life because we are dependent on Christ to do it.